Hey everyone, this is my, as you can see in the title, New York Comic Con vlog. Wait, hold on. And you see me getting weapons checked. Yeah, that was kind of funny. This was Sunday, the very last day. I dressed as Chrome Skull, so I had the GoPro on my shoulder, and I had a harness that was not, being the best. As you can see, I'm readjusting it. So most of this footage is not like this. Most of this footage is of people's feet. But you could get an idea of how New York Comic Con was this year. So anyway, New York Comic Con this year was great. I got my Pro Pass, which was fucking awesome. Finally, again. And then I was able to get a 4-day pass for Paul. So we were there the entire 4 fucking days, exhausted as shit. 4 different fucking costumes. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Tons of bags packed for it. Yeah, so I guess I would say day 1 was a new costume made, which was the Scooby-Doo one, Velma and Scooby. I got a lot of looks because I had extra titties going on with that costume. I was like, hey, look at these tits I have on. And so that costume was all made by me, of course. Wig styled by me, of course. Paul's costume was kind of like an amalgamation of things bought and made, as usual. People really enjoyed our costumes. They said that we looked great together. They said they loved the idea of like the interpretation of Scooby that Paul had, so that was fucking awesome. Um, yeah, and then next day, Friday, was Pulp Fiction, which is another new costume. That costume, funny enough, like 90%, yeah, like 99% of everything for that costume was bought because it's, a pair of suits, guns, all that stuff. The only thing really made was the face mask, and everything else was bought and styled or whatever not. But that was probably the hardest costume I've ever had to put together because since everything had to be bought instead of made, it was hard because Paul and I are not small people. We are both very tall and very wide people. Or, you could just say an average American. Um, so it was very hard for us to like get stuff. Lucked out with the pants thing, I found like a year ago. Wigs bought like a year ago when I was in Atlanta because I was thinking about doing this costume like for like a small con or whatever. Then it was like, fuck it, we got the wigs, let's get this going. Um, but yeah, it was hard to like. So initially it was like trying to get the airsofts, and that's hard because hello America, we were able to find places to sell us guns a lot faster and easier than it was for us to find places to sell us airsofts. I mean, technically we weren't supposed to bring those guns into the con because they aren't toy guns. They are technically a form of firearm, even though they had the orange tip. But we went through security and they were fine with us. I think because we just had them in our holsters and we weren't like brandishing them and being like, bah, bah, bah. We also lucked out that every time someone asked us for a photo, there weren't any like of the 40,000 branches of police that end up at Comic Con all the time. So anytime we were putting the guns away, they would like be walking by as we're putting them away, like, oh fucking thank god. But yes, it was hard. Like the last thing we had to get for the costumes was the suit, sports coats or whatever. And again, that was hard because again, Paul and I are both tall and wide, so we would find our size but not like the length because we got long arms. It was a lot. But what, once people figured out who we were, it was great. There was just one girl at the end of the day who was like, are you guys like Men in Black? Which was very annoying. But other than that, everyone else figured out who we were, and dudes would like go up to Paul and just be like, what? And then, Paul had an excuse to yell at people, which was great. Yeah, so then Saturday's the big shabam. It's the 10-year anniversary of the Alice in Wonderland, Queen of Hearts, and Mad Hatter. I almost said Mad Matter. Costumes. Now, pretty much the costumes are the same thing as they were 10 years ago. I think I had to make like a new bow tie for Paul because I guess he just couldn't find his bow tie, which is fine. That literally took me like 10 minutes or whatever to make. I made a new collar for my dress because that was the collar I initially wanted to make 10 years ago, but had no fucking idea on how to do so. But, it's been 10 years, and if my skills didn't improve, then dear God, need to rethink my, career path. So I also redid the wig during like pandemic lockdown since, I had nothing else to do, and I was like, well, I've always wanted to redo this wig. Redid the wig. It's a lot lighter now. It's a lot more functioning. When I take off the wig, I don't feel like my neck is gonna fucking snap off because it used to be heavy, guys. It used to be heavy, like no joke. Other than that, everything else is the same thing. I added nails. Like the nails I have are like, you know, kind of stiletto nails that look like blood drips. Added details. My whole thing is always added fucking details to everything, of course. So that was great. Oh, the new thing for the Mad Hatter is that Paul wanted a teapot on his head so he can like reveal it when he would take off his hat, which is great. People's response to that was awesome. Every time we'd pose, and I knew the moment he took off his hat is because people were like, "Okay, 1, 2," and then they just start like chuckling, so that's great. Always love like awesome responses like that. Yeah, so that costume, of course, got like a lot of attention, got a lot of gasping, because of just how, again, wide and tall I am. But of course, as you can see, the very last day, we were something very, very simple and manageable. No one had a clue who the fuck I was, which is fine. This is a very niche, like, horror film, like, character that I am, because I wore this to fucking, what's that called? The New Jersey Horror Con, which is where I debuted at, and only one guy knew who I was. And there were several people being like, "Oh, you're Jason X," and I'm like, "All right, just because I got like a big skull like Jason, like, fuck, man, God, call me out on my big dome." But anyway, so yeah. So again, I wasn't expecting anyone to know who I was. A lot of people knew who Paul was, of course, because he was Candyman. But it was funny because Sunday is kids day, family day, all that stuff. And so a lot of like, parents either would point out Paul to scare their children, great parenting, or they would feel like they were too scared to say his name for reasons. Yeah. So all of Candyman, nothing's been touched with Candyman. I've done a couple of like streams where I was like touching up the costume, because this costume was like, when I initially made it, was done like pretty fucking quick. Spent most of the time, of course, on that chest piece, but once it came to like the coat, I was like, I think I had like 2 days or something. Like, it was like, we're gonna fly out to California in like a few days, and you haven't even started packing, and you haven't finished Paul's costume. Now, what are you gonna fucking do about it, bitch? So yeah, it was a speed run kind of thing. I fixed it. I think there's a couple parts where I might have to fix it again. Again, no one else can tell. It's just me because I'm the person who made it. Fine details. Even Paul can't tell, and he's the motherfucker who wears it. But the only added thing is, of course, his mask, which is, added the bees, the mouth open thing, the good shit. But costumes aside, I had a lovely time at New York Comic Con. It was back to normal capacity as previous. Like last year, it was lower capacity, which is kind of good because it was a good like transition into being around more people. Because after like some time without being around people, you're like, people. Other than that, it was back to it. You could definitely tell there's a lot of like first timers going to a convention because like if you've been to enough conventions, there's convention etiquette, like a way to walk. And even though we're in New York and we all should have an idea of how to like, walk properly at a con, there's a lot of stuff to see. I get it. So a lot of times, I just have to yell at people and be like, big dress coming through. Or on Sunday when some kid was just walking really fast but looking at a different direction than he was walking, and I had to do the New York thing and be like, watch where you going? That kind of stuff. Other than that, again, had a great time. Saw like my friends as always, did my daily rounds to go see them, show off the costumes, had a little chat, all that fun stuff, meet some, I guess you would say, regulars I always run into at the cons as well. But other than that, New York Comic Con, baby, 2022. Bye.